Hey, this is Tilak. Welcome back to our fast formula tutorial. In our last session, we introduced that GSP fast formulas, their different types and everything. Today, we are going to look at the person selection formula for GSP. We looked at person selection fast formula last time in TCS. Now we are going to see how GSP is going to use the same fast formula. If you haven't seen our fast formula tutorial, please go and see the introduction of that person selection fast formula with the context of TCS. We explain how that context and everything going to work for that. Okay, since we are going to support the same context, the same thing, I'm just giving the list of the context. I'm not going to get into the detail of each context. You can look at the context. The same context used wherever the person selection formula is used, because that goes with the type, not goes with the usages. So since it's seeded, it is going to be supported. Okay, now let's see what is that input values used. The GSP is sending only one input value, that is CMBIV create ladder ID. It is unfortunate. So we have to work with what we have as of now. Like, they should they should add more values, I believe. But we will work with what we have. Okay, what is the expected output variable? That is, we don't care about the variable in a person selection. We all care about only the value, which is supposed to be y if the person is has to pass through that validation. No, that is n if you are failing the person over there. Okay. Now, for the example for the today, we came out with a hypothetical logic or reasoning that basically exclude the person if a person is in the grade 5 or above, or above 5, either way is fine. So how do we know the person is in the step 5 or above? There is only two things available. One is the name, which is a string, and other one is a sequence. So we use a sequence for the validation. If the person's current grade sequence is 5 or above, we do not allow the person to go further in the process. Okay. The second validation is only include people where the effective date of the process is greater than the probation end date on the segment. Okay. In short, if a person is still in probation period, do not process the person. So how do we know that? The information what we have is a probation date. Okay, if we get that date, and if that date is basically we validate with the effective date, if that probation period is more than effective date, then greater than equal to effective date, we do not process the person. The third validation is exclude people on ceiling step for the grade. If a person is already in the ceiling step of the grade, okay, do not allow the person. Okay, here the catch is, so basically the logic says you do not allow a person to move from one grade to other grade. Okay, so that they probably do it manually or a different way. So if a person is in the grade 1, if he's already in the highest grade, so we are stopping him, we are not processing him. Okay, if your logic allows him to go from a grade 1 to 2, then this grade, the validation may not work. Okay. For today, I'm going to take only A and B. The third one, I'll take it as a separate session. The reason is, I don't want to have a much bigger video. The second thing is, getting a ceiling is a bit trickier here. It is not a very straightforward. The reason is what we have the information in the DBA from the ceiling side, and that what is the where the person currently in, I mean, which grade, in which steps, in which like all this information has got some kind of a mismatch. I'll explain you when I come to that session. So today we are going to look at two things for validation. The person is in the grade sequence 5 or more, or if the person is in the probation date period of the probation, then we exclude the person. Now let's get into writing a fast formula. We are in the compensation menu. As usual, we navigate to fast formula from a compensation. You can navigate to from a different areas like payroll or a benefit. You can navigate it from a different menu home pages. But since we are working on that compensation, we'll do it from the compensation. We go to the end of the compensation. There is a common configuration. There you can find that fast formula menu. Okay, when I'm clicking the fast formula, it takes me into the fast formula, the home page or like master page. Okay, before we are creating the fast formula, I want to let you know what kind of DBAs we are going to use it. Here, what we are going to look at that is two conditions. One is the step number or the step sequence. The other one is basically probation end date. So if you are looking at that, what we are going to do here is there is a DBA called per grade step sequence that use the two contexts, effective date, HR assignment ID. This basically get that sequence for a HR assignment on a particular date. That's the effective date we are running the fast formula. The second one is we are using the per assignment date probation end date. So we are validating the end date. This is also using the same context, HR assignment ID and the effective date. This is also fetch the date for assignment ID for effective date. So we support these two contexts. When I say we, I mean the person selection fast formula. So we can use these to end date. Okay. Now I'll create that fast formula. Okay, I give the name person selection. Okay, say GSP person selection. The name should be unique. Okay, if you are using the legislative data groups, then it should be unique within the legislation LDG, legislative data group. If you don't use the legislative, that should be unique within the system. Okay, then I use compensation person selection. Okay, person selection. We are not using legislative data group. Compensation, you don't need to use it unless you are using a parent and child. That is, I explained my parent and child tutorial. You can go and have a look at that one. Okay. You try to use old date like 2000 or 1900 something, because sometimes fast formula you also use some process which use the old dates. So it's better to use old date. I always create it in 2000. Okay. As usual, I put the name. Name is, I copy from here. Okay, type. That is also I can copy from here. Okay, purpose to filter the people person who are in probation period are already in step 5 or more. Step 5 or more. Okay, so that's what the purpose is. Okay, I can do like that. It looks like it's better. Okay, now I can say that like first of what we do that. Okay, there's one more thing called alias. You can give an alias to a DBA. Generally, I don't prefer using it. I like if instead of if you want to have well, the alias helps you to have a kind of a smaller name for the DBA. I prefer to put it in a smaller variable rather than using alias. So you don't see in my coding anywhere alias. If you want to use it, feel free to use it. DBA. Okay. What are the DBAs? Okay, we are declaring a DBA. This is a single value DBA. So we'll go for default for per grade. I'll just copy it. That would be easier for me. Okay, and since it is a number, I'm giving -1. Again, you can give a 0. It's not necessary. You can give a -1. You can give a 0 or any number which may not be part of the sequence number. Okay, and the next one is, since it is the date, we'll give 1900 01 01 00 00 00, and it is a date. So we tell the system it is a date. That is the default value. Okay, 1900, why we are giving it, that is also that we don't see any like DBA ask that kind of a date. So that is it, giving us a default value. So we know that whether we are getting a value out of it. Okay. Now what we do? The next one is basically I do a input declaration. Okay. Inputs are CMB, IV, grade, ladder, ID, and it is a number. Okay, it is a number. Inputs are CMB, IV, grade, ladder, ID. Okay, we are not going to use it. Just to, since it is there, I'm just showing it. We are not going to use it in our example. Okay, here data SetLock. Okay, it is not necessarily to use a SetLock here. You can use that by default, that write lock, the ESS write lock. But I recommend using the SetLock, because tomorrow if GSP come out with the tester like CWP or TCS, then the SetLock help you a lot. You don't have to change the code, and the SetLock also do the same thing whatever that write ESS lock does. So you can use the SetLock. What is that? Rendering. Okay, we got that. Okay, and then we do leaving. Okay, leaving with what? Okay, I use return val. I use a variable called retval. I don't have it yet. I'll add that. Retval. Okay, return retval. Okay, now retval is what? Default value. I'm giving a default value y. Okay, default value is y. You can give a default value now according to your logic. It is not necessarily y. it can be N or 2. Okay, now what I do here, I get grade. Okay, I get the grade ID. Okay, get context grade ID. Get the context. Okay, sorry, grade ID -1. Again, default is -1. Then I get that effective date. Okay, I get the effective date. Context. Right. Okay, sorry. Effective date. Again, same thing as a default. Okay, so we have to give it default. I'm giving the same as a default. Okay, now I got the grade ID. I got that this one. Now what we do? Okay, I'm going to log all this information. Okay, so okay, I put that above the variable space. Okay, I say that grade ID. Grade ID. Since it is number, I'm converting them into a character. Okay, I say grade. I also log effective date. Okay, somebody asked me why I'm using L data or why it is, because there's nothing written. Since it is a function, it returns something. Okay, I think it is written here, YRN, I believe. Anyway, that we can't use it. Doesn't have any. Since it's a function, it is returning something. That's it. Like no, there is no use for that value. So you can take it in any dummy variable. I just use L data effective date. Okay. So what I do here, I put LE date to here. Okay. E date goes here. So I got this one. Now what I can do here, I can also say that step sequence. I can just put a step sequence. What is a step sequence? Okay, since it's a number, it goes under. Okay. I also say probation date. Probation date. Sorry. Probation date. Probation date also goes within 2K. So now we printed, we logged all the information we needed. Now what are we going to do? We are going to do the validation. Okay, the first validation is, okay, probation is less than 5. That is that. Okay, sorry. That is that less than 5. Okay, that is the validation. We are going to make it. Okay, now if what is my validation? If probation is less than 5, sorry, greater than 5, greater than equal to 5, because I have a default y return value, so I'm trying to find the where it fails rather than going to say where it pass. If I have a return value, the default as n, then I have to look at that where it is going to pass. Okay. Okay. Now I got less greater than equal to 5. So if it's greater than equal to 5 probation period, okay, you can have a ESS log say that I don't have to have one more information here because by seeing that E date, and this itself I know is going to fail or pass. So you don't have to, but if you want to have something, you can always say that failed in probation. Am I right? You can always say that failed in probation. You can always say is this part. You don't, but we don't need it with our coding because the first log itself says what is going to happen. Okay. Now the second condition is sequence. Sorry, no, I mean, so I made a mistake. Okay, I just put that. Sorry, I just changed that. Okay, I changed the logic to secondary. Say that is a step. Sorry about that. Okay, step is less than 5, so failed in step. Okay, so I fix it. Okay, the first condition we are making the step. The second one is we are making a probation. Okay. Okay, probation validation. We are doing it. Okay. Now what happened? I don't have to validate if it is already failed. There's no need of failing it again. Am I right? Because I already failed. So what's the point of validating one more time unnecessarily? So I can say that if return value equal to y, okay, that is the only time I want to do that. So that saves something for me. Okay, then I can say if okay, I just put the coding. If probation date is probation end date is less than probation end date is less than E date. So as of the end date, the guy is not in a probation. That's all we want to know. That. Okay, no. Okay. Greater than equal to end date. Okay, so probation date is, yeah, as of the last date, he is not in probation. Okay, so basically you are telling if the end date or that the effective date is lesser than equal to that date. So basically he is in probation for the whole period and or more. So that is also I'm going to say return value. Okay. I don't think we have a data on probation. Probably the probation date is we are going to get the same thing, that the default value. So let's see, failed in probation. Okay. Okay, that is why true validation is done. I'm saving it, submitting it, compiling it. Okay, I'm refreshing it. Okay, probably you don't see all my refresh time. I just to make the video smaller, I'll cut it. Okay, it's one of the time I got it first time successful in past. So we are done. Now what we do, we go back. Okay, GSP. You are searching this GSP. You see that. Okay, it is passed. Now we'll run it. Now we go to the compensation main menu. We go to the GS grades to progression area. We'll try to run a grade ladder. I chose a grade ladder with grade and steps. I just choose a formula. Sorry. I choose the formula GSP person selection. In this case, you don't have to turn it on. That's okay. By default, I always do. Okay. Okay. Okay, just completed. Now can turn into succeeded. Okay. Well, we look at that lock here. Okay. Okay. The log. We look at the log. Now let's see what happened. Parameter. Okay. Now entering the person selection formula, the grade ID, we got the grade ID. Effective date is 25/9/21. Today date, actually it's a tomorrow date, probably a different time zone. Sequence 1, we got the sequence. Okay. Now when we look at the profession date, as I said, okay, for this person there's no data. So this is lesser than this part. So the profession is perfectly fine. The guy is not in the probation period. The sequence is 1. So the guy is going to, both is passed. Both condition is passed. So it's going to, what the return is value is y. Okay. Let's see if anybody else we are having it. Look like there's only one person and it is working fine. It is working the way we expected. Okay. That's it for the tutorial. I'll put that link to that the code, the formula code. I'll put that probably in my blog. I'll update it in the blog, then I'll give a link for that. If you have any question, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time with a different tutorial. Probably that the second part of the person selection, we'll do it next time. Thank you. Bye.